Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Hi, my name is Andrew Solis. I live in Houston, Texas, and I sell non-alcoholic spirits for a living.
So how did you get into this business?
Yeah, how did I get into this business? So it's an origin story that has a lot to do with me personally. Beginning of the pandemic, I was at a point in my life where I wanted to consume a little bit less alcohol. Alcohol has been part of my life from when it legally shouldn't have been. So I've had a long relationship, for better or for worse, with alcohol. I was turning 40, and it didn't necessarily abstain, but I didn't know how I was going to cut back, but still feel like I could be out and about, socializing. And at about that same time, personally, my oldest of my two children at dinner table was asking more questions about what I did professionally. And I noticed I would dodge that question, I would redirect, and reflecting back on it, it was really because I didn't have a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, right? And children being the keen observers of those kinds of things as they are, I just had this note that, I needed to do better for them as an example of what does it look like to take a risk on yourself? What does it look like to have passion and really interest, right? In what I was spending 9 hours of my day doing. And trying to make the world a little bit of a better place in a specific way. So, those two things are crossing at the same point of time in my life. And when I say lit the fuse, was waking up with a hangover one Saturday. And I'm fully responsible for giving myself that hangover. But I had this thought that there had to be a better way. I was out that night celebrating a friend's milestone birthday. Wasn't going to see him for 3 months. COVID made it 3 years. And so, we wanted to be out together. How could I have been in that moment, still enjoyed a cocktail, but not have the alcohol component, and have that cocktail not feel like an afterthought, soda with cranberry or something like that? To order drinks how I was accustomed to ordering drinks, right? You get around, I get around, to stay out that full time. And then really to have it just be not necessarily something that I would have to change about how I was imbibing that night. And that's really where the idea was born. And I started to research what was out on the market. Tried all the products that were out on the market at the time, and none of them for me really delivered the cocktail experience that I was looking for. And none of them also spoke to me as a person who was interested in moderation and mindful drinking, not necessarily full-time abstention. And they almost came off as anti-alcohol. And so I did the research and started to develop what now are our 4 expressions of cut above: our gin, our whiskey, our agave blanco tequila, and our mezcal. So it was important that we got the liquid right, meaning it held up in a cocktail, provided natural flavors. It was low in calorie, low in sugar, low in carbs, all that sort of thing. But also that was wrapped in a brand that was about inclusion, that was about respecting individual choice when it came to alcohol consumption. So much so it made it into our name. The cut part of cut above refers to a cut cocktail. And for me, I still consume alcohol. And so now what I do when I make my gin and tonics, instead of using 2 ounces of my traditional gin, I'll use 1 ounce of that and 1 ounce of cut above. Right. So I've cut the alcohol content directly in half. I don't miss that other half. I still has that familiar things from the traditional spirits that are there. Cocktail stays balanced. And so we see a lot of response to that messaging out there. There are a lot of Andrews or people who find themselves in similar stations in life where they want to just be more mindful. And we see that, on the social occasions. You go out, maybe if you still consume alcohol, your first cocktail is full strength. Then maybe you want 1/2 strength, then none, and then back to full. That choice, I think, is what people really dig about what we stand for. And our job is just to make sure that not consuming alcohol is normalized.
That's amazing. So what was your job before?
Yeah, so before Cut Above, I was in banking. So I was in banking for 18 years. And before that, I had a brief stint as a consultant. So no hospitality background whatsoever. I like to say I had no business starting a beverage company, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, very different industry. So I guess in terms of your business today, is it mostly in retail? Is it direct to consumer? Is it B2B? In terms of, I guess you could say food service, what does most of your revenue streams look like?
Yeah, we do it all, right? So those are all correct guesses. So we have distributor relationships in certain geographies where we rely on them to get our product out to stores and to bars and restaurants. We self-distribute in the areas that we don't have a distribution partner. So whatever bar or restaurant is out there in the US, they want cut above, we can send it to them directly. And then we also sell directly to our consumers through our website, drinkcutabove.com. We're also listed on Amazon. So for me, it's about accessibility to the product, why we chose to go right across all those three channels. They're all different. They all have different challenges, but it's about getting the product to the people so they can find where it fits in their life.
For sure. So is there like a certain channel that you're more focused on, or are you focused on all three, like, like in the same way, you could say?
Yeah, I would say so. Our focus for the beginning of 2024 is expanding our distribution network, because really that they serve for us as a pseudo storytellers, as a sales team. And so we're very careful about the partners that we pick. Sometimes that means as a small startup and brand, we sacrifice some sales. But for us, I'm very cautious about the brand and the messaging and how, a short version of what I just went through, is shared, because we think it's a relatable story. And so we really focus on growing that. But we always make sure that we don't take our eye off the other two either.
So what is a good partner for you? Like, what do you look for in terms of like a good partner for distribution?
Yeah, a good distribution partner has a couple of qualities. One, they understand this category is here to stay. So we have both food distributors and we have distributors that are alcohol distributors, traditionally alcohol distributors. And so they're the distribution for beverages, alcohol beverage, is massive here in the U.S. And there is a good amount of what I'll term old guard, that still controls that. And I don't think anyone can really call this a fad anymore, but no one really knows how big it's going to be. The forecasts are great, for us as a segment and for the consumers of non-alc, but there's still that it's always going to be second product to alcohol, So what we look for is someone who understands the category and believes in its potential and growth. The second thing we look for is someone who can pass that down to those that are going to go out to the bars and restaurants and out to the retailers to talk about that product, because like we encounter in our direct business to business sales, I like to say I have to drag some people kicking and screaming into the future. But when they get that non-alcoholic cocktail portion of their menu built out and they see the guests enjoying it and they see it is being ordered, it clicks for them. And so we look for, I would say, those two things primarily, and then someone who can give us feedback. For us, we're super interested in what consumers have to say. And then as they are moving our product in their markets, what are the things that are resonating, what works, so that we can respond to that.
For sure. And as you said, like the non-alc space is very exciting. It's growing very quickly. So how do you compete, in the space? Like, do you you could say like in-store demos or sampling, or even like at certain hotels? Like, how do you get people to actually go and try your products?
Yeah, those are all, again, great guesses. So we do in-store tastings where we have bottle shops or boutiques that have us. We will go. It's usually me, as the founder of the company. I do travel a good amount. I like being in those accounts that support us and are kind of bringing these products to the areas that they're in. So we'll do in-store tastings. We participate in different events. So on the trade side, we'll do things like cocktail festivals, bartending festivals, where we can really talk to the trade about how to build out a non-alcoholic program. And then on the consumer side, we look for opportunities to really talk about the brand. So this month earlier, I was at South by Southwest on a panel. We were talking about, I think the title was "Why is Not Drinking the Hottest Trend in Drinking," which I think is a great title. And so that gives us the chance to really position the messaging. We want to be an owner of what it means to have a non-alcoholic spirit on your home bar or to encounter it. And we want to own that message because the way we talk about it is very different than our competitors. We talk about it in a way that's never anti-alcohol. We talk in a way that respects your choice. We talk about it in a way that it's not, now that you have non-alcoholic spirits, we're going to take away all your traditional spirit bottles. That everything can coexist. And in the end, it's about what we term inclusive hospitality, which you can do at your home, or you can encounter at a bar or restaurant, just making everyone feel like they were thought about when it comes to having a nice cocktail, whether or not they're consuming.
For sure. But in terms of like your expansion or growth right now, like, are you mostly focused here in Texas, or are you like scaling nationwide? What does that look like for your business?
Yeah, so we are available nationwide. So we want to scale into where we see interest from our consumer, So our consumer individual sales inform where we have interest. And so that will be really kind of spotted. There's not a traditional, it's only the coasts. We see it in the Midwest. We see it in the southern, eastern US, northeastern. It's really spread out, which I think is really telling and really a positive thing. It means that this is something has wide interest, right, across different geographies, across different, both urban and rural areas. So our focus is the Midwest right now, the Northeast, and then the West Coast, because of the population density that you have there. So it allows us to reach the largest amount of consumers fast.
Makes sense. So in terms of reaching consumers, obviously, because we spoke about earlier that you're doing direct to consumer sales on your website. So in terms of like marketing that channel, do you run ads? Do you do any marketing for that channel or not at all?
We do a little bit. You have to a certain degree, but acquiring a consumer through ads on the social platforms is expensive. That's kind of across all brands, and it's a very complicated puzzle to figure out. So we participate in a minor way there, but what we really focus on is that organic growth, bringing in the stories of our consumers and telling, where and when they found it useful. A big part of our responsibility as a brand is educating the consumer. And part of the way we do that is learning, right? How are they finding this to be a useful product to have or to find when they're out and about? So we are always looking and finding content and share those stories. We do the same thing for our business partners as well, where they have a win or something that really just kind of shows the power and transformation that can occur when you have these options on the menu. We share that as well.
Awesome. So like essentially that you're sharing user generated content like UGC on your platform, like of your customers actually using your product or customers that have used your product. And then you're posting that, you could say more organic content on Instagram or TikTok, places like that.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Awesome. So obviously now, right, we're about to wrap up Q1 of 2024. So for 2024 to really be successful for you, what are some of your biggest objectives for this year?
Yeah. So our biggest objective first is to grow our distribution network, right, which is growing the brand. So that's part of my responsibility to make sure the brand is taken care of and exposed to as many people as possible so they have the choice. The second thing really is looking at how do we continue our thought leadership. How do we continue to tell, my story personally, continue to find other stories out there that are inspiring and can motivate others, right, to think I can try non-alc even though I still consume alcohol, right? I think that's a real focus of messaging with those consumers. There are unique challenges with those that consume alcohol, the expectation of the product versus reality that exists across our whole segment. And so we want to make sure that we're the voice that they know we have thoughts on that. We have things to share. We're an open book in terms of the natural ingredients that we use in our product, but we also want to be there on the receiving end. So when people are conversing about what they like or don't like or expectations, we love that feedback. So I'd say that's the second one. And then the third thing really is making sure that as we grow to those networks that we're finding really good bar and restaurants that have well-known cocktail programs. And the reason we place an importance on that, I'm a believer that brands, spirits and non-alc spirits, brands are built at bars. It's where I heard about a new brand many times in the past. There's a certain storyteller aspect that the bartenders and mixologists have. And so we believe in that and we support that community. And so we want to grow our presence on-premise.
For sure. So nowadays, many companies are using high-level technology such as AI. So do you guys currently use AI in the business? And if not, where can AI come in and add value in 2024?
We use it in a small way, but in ways I want to make it a little bit bigger. So we use it right now really as we are generating that social content, right? We're looking for ways to refine what Andrew wants to say. And so we employ that for some copywriting as well. We use it when we're presented with opportunities to be at an event and making sure our messaging is right for the attendees. I would like to explore AI, and I'm very interested on how it helps and can accelerate and make more effective the advertising side of things. There's a lot of promise there. I believe some of it's overpromise, just like anything. But I think there is probably some real things that can be found in terms of efficiencies and learning faster, which is key for good marketing that AI can bring.
For sure. But have you thought about AI for customer service? Like if people want to check on your website and they have questions about the products, about the taste, ingredients, things like that?
Yeah, I think that's an opportunity. I mean, obviously that one, particular hasn't crossed my mind, but now it's part of my mind. You said it, so it's great to see it grow, and I think where it makes sense for us in those examples, yeah, we'll pursue it. I think any business that doesn't think AI is applicable to them is already starting to be behind the curve.
100%. So what would you say is like the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started this business?
Oh, great question. The one biggest piece of advice before starting this business was the overall emotional impact it takes. And I think this is something I saw with founders of other companies. I would always kind of characterize them before I started mine. They just had this like sense of like positivity and optimism that this isn't going to fail, right? I would say that. And previous to this, I would characterize that as just, being very audacious, being, just almost foolish, right? And this optimism that they had. I know now, right? That's a requirement of a startup, right? You have to see things as this is going to work and will things into existence. I'm a believer that that is a thing. The thing that comes with that is all the effort, right? And that's effort, right? Both in time, in business skill, and growing myself, right? Personally, right? Time away from family. And so it leaves, certain things like in my life, right? Staying right physically fit, right? Going to the gym, those kinds of things, go by the wayside. And that disturbed, right? My just balance of life, right? And so it took an emotional toll on me, not feeling like I was taking care of all the different right components of Andrew. The other piece that I think was difficult is, I like to say like the negative reviews sometimes hurt. And not that I think they're incorrect or anything like that. I believe, right, it's people's honest opinions. But my goal really was to develop like the best product out there, and to be able to find the consumers, right, who want that and can find a place for it in their lives. And it's a thing, right? I don't dwell on it very much. Any business has to deal with that, but really making sure that I'm staying focused, that I'm dealing with the highs and dealing with the lows in real time, and staying in the moment as much as possible.
For sure. Yeah. I always say, I'm like, every negative review is like a learning opportunity. And like with some people, yes, it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to please them. They're just going to be upset, grouchy people. With some people, it's like, okay, this is like some good feedback. Maybe I can take this and improve the products or improve whatever I'm doing. So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
In 1 year, I want to be able to bring the brand into bigger social occasions. So that's your larger concert, right? Festivals. That's finding the brand, and maybe at the stadium you watch your football team play. Maybe that's finding the brand on a college, right, campus, where providing non-alcoholic options, I think is a big opportunity. And then maybe finding the brand when you travel. I think hospitality, particularly the hotel industry, has growth to do in bringing these. We hear a lot of times consumers, right? I can find this product at home. I love it. It's integrated into my life. And then I go on vacation and there's just nothing anymore. And so, right, finding those hospitality accounts is big for us. So that's really where I see the brand in a year, where I really want it to be is wherever you are, whether at home or on vacation, you can find us.
Are you having conversations with sports teams right now?
So we have conversations for really the food and beverage programs that exist on the different venues. And so we talk to them about, just part of it, the message is responsible service for your customers. Part of it is there's an expectation now that someone can find something that took care and craft to create in terms of a cocktail. And so, yeah, we have all those conversations open, but those are very big ships to turn, right? Those are massive programs to change. And so it's a slow burn to get there, but I think it's worth it.
100%. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website, social media, or I guess best ways to get in contact?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I'll ask is follow us at Drink Cut Above, whatever social network you're on, at Drink Cut Above. My direct email is andrew@drinkcutabove.com. So I always welcome questions, insights, conversations. I'm big on that piece of it as well. We've got the forms on our website, for anything like that, but anything can come to my inbox, whether it's like a partnership or a question.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it, Dan. Thank you for everything you do bringing these podcasts to life. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.